do this, but for Red Reboot. Let's see. Oh my god, it's me. This is 2010. Oh my god.
Hola YouTube. Today I'm going to talk about
Yo, we looking good, chat.
On the ban list as far as its placement. Most people agree with it. A lot of people don't. I don't want to say most people. It's like 50-50 split. That's Heavy Storm. I'm gonna give you my opinions and views on the banning of Heavy Storm. Was it right?
Of course, this is a dozen years ago. I've been Yugi tubing for forever, Chad. If you guys don't know, I've been Yugi tubing for forever.
So, I believe that Heavy Storm should have been banned. It's definitely a ban-worthy card. Almost anytime you talk about Heavy Storm getting banned, people instantly bring up Cold Wave. It should have been banned, or Cold Wave should have been banned.
I don't know that song.
This isn't really the topic here,
it's
so
too
we'll just put
long.
Cold Wave to the side. Okay. Here's the thing about Heavy Storm. When you looked at the fact that it had absolutely no activation cost and the amount of advantage and destruction it caused, it is no contest that the card is ban worthy, like, period.
Okay.
I mean, much like Dark Hole or Feather Dust or Regeki, it's just mass destruction with no activation cost, and it's not themed. It can be splashed into any deck. So, I mean, that right there makes it easily a ban worthy card. Not just that, but Heavy Storm gave you the green light for any FTK or OTK, and people will instantly say,
good point.
Well, Giant Trunade does that too. So Giant Trunade, should have been banned instead of Heavy Storm because Heavy Storm is healthy for the game. Okay, I'll stop you right there, because here's the only difference between Heavy Storm and Giant Trunade, and why Heavy Storm ultimately cannot be, perceived as healthy for the game. The only difference between Heavy Storm and Giant Trunade is that Heavy Storm can effectively be played with no intentions of an OTK or FTK. Giant Trunade cannot. That's the only difference between these two cards. That basically means that you can use Heavy Storm in much more decks than you'd ever be able to use Giant Trunade. That's why you don't see Giant Trunade being played in stuff like Black Wings, being played in, decks that often can't
This is a point. I just don't know if it's a good point. No. I think I'm making a point. I just don't know if it's like a good point.
TK.
Yeah, I just don't know if it's like a good point.
To prove my point, all you need to do is look no further than something like the Glad format, where Glads rarely ever OTK you. When Glads played Heavy Storm in the Glad format, often they just wanted to make advantage, clear your back row so that they could do their moves to make advantage off of you or on you, so that it would be next to impossible for you to get back in the game. This is completely different than when Heavy Storm was used in the Teledad format. When Heavy Storm was used in Teledad format, Teledad just wanted to clear your back row so that they can drop a couple synchros, drop a Dark Arm, maybe Brain Control, and just OTK you in the game right there. That is the difference. You see that one card being played in two different formats, two completely different ways. Giant Trunade is pretty much always played the same exact way. That's the difference between Heavy Storm and Giant Trunade. That's why I think ultimately Heavy Storm is worse for the game.
Is that true, chat? Is Heavy Storm worse for the game than Giant? I feel like I feel like in hindsight, this is a video that is aged very poorly. Is hindsight or is Heavy Storm worse than the game for Giant Trunade? Actually, no, I think they're both pretty bad for the game. Yeah, I feel like they're both pretty bad. Like, you can maybe make the argument, okay, so if you got to I'm gonna put some context in this. You were probably right until like 4 years ago. I gotta put some context into this. So, it was the belief, Twitch chat, that without Heavy Storm in the game, there would be no way to like punish these back row decks. Like Yu-Gi-Oh! So this is 2010, so this would be 5Ds. So that was like the idea, chat. Is like, oh, well then how do we stop set 5 pass? How do we play through back row? It's the opposite of like today, chat, where like no one plays any trap cards. You know what I mean? Like that was the idea. Is like, how can I play through a Deep Prison plus a Bottomless plus a Book of Moon? Like I can't play through all that back row. If I don't have Heavy Storm, if my opponent sets 3 face down cards in their back row, I deserve to be able to punish them for setting too many cards. Like, God, Yu-Gi-Oh! Was so different. You were probably right until 4 years ago. Yu-Gi-Oh! Players mauling about set 5 since the beginning. I mean, that was like the idea is that there just wasn't enough. Because like MST, if you guys do know, like MST was limited for like the first 3 eras of Yu-Gi-Oh! MST was like pretty much limited to 1 chat. So you couldn't just run like, oh, we'll just play 3 MST. Like, no, MST was like a limited card for many years.
Now, people say, okay, without Heavy Storm, people can just set, all the back rows they...
Hey, see? I didn't even need to give context because I give it in the video. Wow, there we go.
Don't have to worry. Well,
people played that card, Malevolent Catastrophe. People played it.
Solemn was at
just wasn't that
3,
great.
especially in the Teldat format. Solemn was at 3, so it wasn't like you couldn't do that already. Anti-meta decks such as Little City and Gadget and Stun, they had to do that to survive anyway. So it's not like they're magically going to start doing that now and they weren't previously. The decks were running Dark Bribe, they were running Solemn, so it wasn't like they're magically just now getting on to doing that. The only difference is now, other decks might try to do that as well. Okay. But here's the thing. It's not like Heavy Storm is absolutely vital to the game. We have tons of Magic and Trap hate. And I'm not even talking about like Delta Crow or,
What cards is Cap G going to name, chat? Let's find out who's the fake one in the chat. What cards? So I'm saying that there's lots of Spell and Trap. I guess that's always an argument, right? What card? I mean, yeah, you guys saw Breaker, obviously. Yeah, Breaker. What cards am I gonna? I'm gonna say if I'm gonna throw some. I'm gonna say Trap. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna bring up Trap Stun. Yeah, Trap Stun. Trap Stun is like a card I'm pretty sure that I would bring up. MST. Yeah, I think MST is gonna be in there.
Something like that. I'm talking about just straight up generic Magic and Trap hate. Breaker.
Okay.
Nobleman of Extermination.
Oh, didn't see that. Nobleman of Extermination. This was actually meta. Nobleman of Did that card ever get? I'm trying to think if that card ever went to like 2. I like that idea.
What's this one? Dust Tornado.
Okay.
MST, which is now at 2, and just about every deck that I've seen
semi-limited
under the September ban list is main decking 2 of those cards. Trap Stun, which is just going to see an insane amount of play, and Twister, still a really good card. And then Royal Decree is now at 3. So it's not like we don't have a plethora of Magic and Trap hate. People will just have to slightly adjust their decks. It's not like without Heavy Storm, we now don't have a way to take care of back rows because ultimately...
Oh, shit. How many of you guys know what Twister does, chat? Not Twin Twisters, Twister. I believe Twister is pay 500 life points, destroy 1 face-up Spell and Trap. I think it has to be your opponent's card. Yeah, I've never seen no one Twister their own card. Basically, it just beats Floodgates. That's it.
Maybe even too much.
Because no one played field spells until like Art.
I've been talking to people, and I've actually come to the conclusion that Heavy Storm is actually worse for the game than Dark Hole, and I need to explain that, obviously. Here's the thing about Magic and Traps versus Monsters. It is much, much harder to rebuild a field of Magic and Traps that were destroyed versus rebuilding a field of monsters that was destroyed.
Bro, I am actually the GOAT. I've been speaking the gospel since 2010. Oh my god. I've actually been speaking the gospel since It's harder for me to come back in the game in Yu-Gi-Oh! When you blow out my back row than it is when you blow out my monsters. Where you have cards like Sangan and all these little shitty cards that float into other cards. Spells and traps don't do that unless they have the word Golden Land on them. You know what I mean? Like, wow. Don't run so many traps. All right, just tell that to Altergeist and Eldritch. The decks that don't even have spells. You know what I mean? Amazement and Paleo. You know, we
let's take 2 for example. Losing 2 Magic and Traps at once versus losing 2 monsters at once. Well, the thing about monsters is we have monsters that the second that they hit the field, instantly pay for themselves. Instantly make advantage.
Stratos.
Stuff like Stratos,
Gadget,
Gearframe, Manju, Diva, Yellow Gadget, or gadgets in general. Okay, so the second those cards hit the field, they automatically pay for themselves. You've lost.
Chat, can you guys think of like a trap that pays for? I'm right now. Think of a trap that when you activate it, it pays for itself. Like a good card, by the way. Don't come up with like some shitty obscure card. I'm not sure I can even think of one. Like a trap that the second you have, like, oh, it just floats. It just pays for itself. Other than like Eldritch cards, like the only ones like Sanguine. You know what I mean? of the Haunted evenly. Like we're 12 years after this video and there's like still no trap cards. Like the best one I could think of is like Sanguine, because it gets you a monster and then the next turn it just turns into another like Eldritch. You know what I mean? Crush card. I mean that requires a cost, and it's not guaranteed that it's going to. Crush card's not even guaranteed to hit anything. I mean, well, technically, usually you'd use it if your opponent had at least a monster on field, but like, you know,
nothing. And then on top
better
of that,
open
we have
Heavenly
monsters that the second they leave the field, instantly pay for themselves as well.
Hold on, Sangan cards that when they leave the field pay for themselves. Sangan. There's no Witch. Witch has been banned. What else am I gonna say? Oh, Card Trooper. So I'm wondering if I'm saying any type of way, because the only things I can think of would be Card Trooper and Sangan. But if I'm talking about battle as well, then yeah, you could throw in like Apprentice Magician, Tomato, maybe Shining Angel, like all the recruiter cards. That's what we used to call them back in the day. Does Waking the Dragon count? I would say no, because I would mean like cards you can just freely activate whenever. Waking the Dragon largely it basically has to be activated by your opponent. Like it's like from the anime. Like you triggered my trap. It's like that.
Again, Duke Frog, Goblin Zombie, and Dark Soul. I mean, and those are just some
I
examples.
forgot about those.
The
Goblin
thing is
Zombie.
about Magic and Traps Magic and Traps don't do any of that. There aren't any Magic and Traps that the second you activate it, you instantly make an advantage. Or when it's destroyed, like if it's destroyed face down, you instantly get a plus off of it. There may be a few in the game and they're completely unplayable. So that's the difference between having something like Heavy versus having something like Darkhold. It's way easier to rebuild monsters.
Dude,
and then
zombies
in
used to be busting.
We don't have any generic card that instantly gets you back any magic or trap in the game, you know, when it has been destroyed. There are tons of monster revival cards. We've got Call Out of Haunted. We've got Monster Reborn now. So it's not like you can't get those guys back. So I think a lot of people just need to calm down, especially in just testing the new format without Heavy. The thing that I think scares most people is it's not the fact that people are now setting more back rows. It's the fact that the tempo of the game has basically switched from, or control of the game has basically switched from offense to defense. And when you think about skill in the game, it's a beautiful thing, and it's a thing that's absolutely great for Yu-Gi-Oh! You won't see people.
I gotta like this video.
You can't just, you know, drop 5 monsters or 3 synchros and not have to worry about it anymore, because there's so many counters. So now you have to think, you know, what can my opponent have if they have 3 back row? But
retweeted.
Still have all the hate cards. They're gonna be commonly played.
What did we learn today, Twitch chat? I think we've learned that low key, maybe I was always a genius, chat. Like I would never think to go back and watch my videos from like a dozen years ago, but real talk, Cap G kind of spitting. There's barely any traps that are on the level of monsters and spells, basically. For the most part, what Soza says is true, chat. Like the only trap cards that are like on the level of like spells and monsters, like historically, all of them have been banned. Like I would say half of them are like floodgate cards like IO, Royal Oppression, Vanity's Emptiness. So like they're those continuous traps that just lock something out, or they're very I don't know. Some of them are just like the WTF cards, chat. Like you know how Painful Choice is just kind of like a what the hell were they thinking? That would be like 6 cents. You know what I mean? Like why would you put draw 5 in a card? The only other one that's kind of like on that level, chat, is like Ring of Destruction, but they errated that. Or yeah, maybe something like Dust Shoot. Yeah, the point is, chat, I'm talking non-floodgate cards. There's very few of them historically. I would go like Ring of Destruction, Trap Dust Shoot, probably Torrential Tribute at times. Yeah, Torrential Tribute. I mean, it's been power creep like hell. Ultimate Offering, fair enough. That's not a flood. Yeah, Ultimate Offering is not a floodgate, but it's like very few. You'll probably be able to count them, chat, like on one hand. You know, as opposed to like how many broken monsters have there been in Yu-Gi-Oh! Or broken spell cards. You know what I mean? Like dozens and dozens and dozens with monsters, hundreds. You know what I mean? Trap cards, you know, it's much lower, I guess. Anyways, that was actually totally worth watching. Capital's always right. I mean, I think so that video did prove, chat, that I've always been like a if you want to say, Cap, you've always been, what is the word? I don't want to say stun simp, or, you know, I've never been a combo player, I guess. Like, I've always been a more defensive player, chat. Like, that is my identity. Like, even going, you know, go back 12 years, like, that's always been my playstyle.